3. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very, very special edition of Wrestling with the Future. I'm your host, Psychic Medium Angelo, joined by the Happy Haberdasher, Dan the Man Sebastiano. How you doing, Dan?
Good, Angelo. Looking forward to tonight. Huge fan.
Oh, brother, we got a great show tonight. Great show tonight. Very special guest. And I'm joined by a returning guest, our friend, Tombstone Jesus from Devotion Championship Wrestling in Salt Lake City. How you doing, Tombstone?
Yeah, always a pleasure, man. Really happy to be here.
Got a special night for you, brother.
It is.
You brought company with you. You got your promoter, Manny Lemons, the big man, the guy with the big bucks. Manny, how you doing, brother?
Good, boss. How you doing? Big bucks. I don't know about big bucks, but
fine, brother. I'm fine. I'm even finer because I got an amazing guest tonight going to join me. Superstar Bill Dundee is a true professional wrestling legend and a Memphis wrestling icon. Bill has wrestled all over the world for such promotions as WCW, NWA World Class, USWA, CWA, AWA, and many others. Bill's a former two-time, say that twice, two-time AWA Tag Team Champion, along with Jerry the King Lawler, and former CWA Heavyweight Champion. Bill has also feuded with Jerry Lawler and Stone Cold Steve Austin, just to name a couple. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored, I'm thrilled, and pleased to introduce you to the Memphis Flash, the legendary superstar, Bill Dundee. Bill, how are you, brother?
Hi, guys. How y'all doing? It's doing good. Fixing to start them here in Memphis.
Well, I'll tell you what, we didn't think this was going to happen tonight. My phone just wasn't going to happen.
I hear you. Well, sometimes it's the operator, not the phone.
Yeah,
but it's with me anyway.
I know. Well, we got it all together now.
Okay.
Got it all together. So, Bill, let's talk a little bit about your early beginnings. I know a little bit about you, bro.
Okay.
You actually started out, interestingly enough, as a circus performer.
Well, we looked at the animal perform. We looked after the elephants and did the elephant act.
Now, that seems like a rather interesting lifestyle to live. Your entire family was in the that kind of business, the circus business?
No, just me.
Oh, really?
See, this is
How did this come about?
We went to Australia in 1960. And the things were, didn't know anybody. We migrated from Australia to America. Not quite true. Went from Scotland to Australia, grew up in Australia, joined the circus in Australia, then got interested in wrestling on the carnival part, and wrestled a few matches there. And then somebody said, try and be a pro. So Jim Barnett brought Georgia Championship Wrestling in 1960 to Australia, and he did his TV show on Sunday morning, and they're always looking for people to put the boys over on TV. So we went down and talked to him, George Barnes and I. We got hired, and we were there for 4 or 5 years. And a gentleman by the name of Bobby Shane showed up. He was the booker. He said, you guys ought to go to America.
Absolutely.
So I said, we don't know nobody in America. He said, well, I know Jerry Jarrett. I can call him. And he did, and the rest is history. Here we are. George and me came here. 1975. George didn't particularly like it. He got a little homesick. He went home, and I've been here ever since. And the rest is history, as they say.
It certainly is history, and history you have made indeed. A lot of people don't know this. I didn't know this when I first saw you. I thought to myself, who's this guy, this Elvis lookalike, wrestling? I'd never seen a guy in a jumpsuit before. Now
Wayne Ferris covered it.
Where
the honky tonk man came after me?
Yeah, I know, right? So where did the whole idea of the Elvis style jumpsuit emanate from? Are you an Elvis fan?
Well, not really. People, I always had dyed black hair and sideboards. People, when I was way back, they said, "You look like Elvis." And even when I just went to school, I just was not doing nothing except worked on a farm. I was going to town on a Saturday night, and they said, "You know, you look like Elvis." I didn't know Elvis looks like me. So that's how it kind of started. And then I got interested in the wrestling. Jim Barnett brought championship wrestling to Australia. And then Bobby Shane Kane was the booker. And he said, "You need to go to America." I said, "Well, I don't know nobody in America." He said, "Well, I know Jerry Jarrett." So he called Jerry Jarrett, hooked up me and George Barnes, and we showed up.
Yeah.
George got homesick, went home. I stayed, and the rest is history.
Bill, I got a surprise for you. I got a very special surprise for you. There's a gentleman here joining me on the phone wants to say hi to you.
Okay.
Go ahead, mystery guest. Go ahead.
I can't hear him.
I'm getting a backseat.
Go ahead, brother.
Hey, Bill, can you hear me?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Hey, it's been over 30 years in the making, but I'm a one of your guys from the past. You actually brought me in when I was a teenager out of New Jersey, and it's taken me 30 years to track you down to say thank you. You gave me my name, Jack Victory, and I just wanted to say thank you for starting my career.
Oh, hell, Jack Vickery, how the hell are you doing, son?
I'm doing great, sir. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been over 30 years, but you gave me my name and basically took a shot, and I just want to be thankful and appreciative of you.
Well, brother, good to hear from you, and I'm glad I could help you out a way back 30 years ago. So, what are you doing now?
I'm not doing wrestling anymore. Retired from wrestling, and I live in Daytona, Florida, and just sucking up the sun.
Well, that must be nice.
Yeah. Are you still in Tennessee?
Yeah, still in Memphis.
Oh, you're still in Memphis, yeah.
Bill, I have to tell you something. Jack.
All right.
Jack is a dear friend of mine. I've known Jack Victory for many, many years. And when I told Jack that you were coming on the show, he said, I have to come on at least for a few minutes just to say thank you to Bill. I said, that would be great, Jack. Why don't you do a run-in with him? We'll surprise him. We won't tell anyone. We're going to kayfabe the whole thing.
I hear you.
And here he is.
And I'm glad to hear from him because, yeah, it is 30 years since I've talked to him. He was just a kid when I met him. Well, we were all kids back then.
Well, the amazing thing is that you're the guy who gave Jack his name.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Tell me that story.
Don't really know. There was no story to. Well, how many victories have you had? And he said, none, but that's a good name. So, okay, Jack, you're Jack Victory. That's how simple it was.
Yeah, that's how it went down.
Yeah, about like that.
That's pretty crazy, Jack.
Well, you gotta, if you, even in today's wrestling, I mean, Bill was a mastermind of booking, of gimmicks. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, you can even see it in today's wrestling, even though it's not that it's kind of painful to watch.
Yeah.
But you'll always see that Memphis gimmick and all that stuff, and that was Bill had 99% of that doing.
Oh God, yeah, sure, Jack, absolutely. So now, Jack, your relationship with Bill goes back a long time. How long did you actually work with or for Bill in the Memphis territory, or was it in the Memphis territory?
No. He was Bill Watts' booker in Mid-South
okay.
Sports.
Louisiana. Yeah.
He was, and out of a whim, they brought me in, and I did a couple shows, and then I flew home, and then about 3 weeks later, I think Bill called me and said they want you to start full time, and that was it. You know, it was amazing. It was a long shot, and I still can't. You know, I sit back and I think about that all the time, and if they never gave me a chance, where would I be now? But
I know, right?
It was a great ride. It was a great ride.
Well, see, everybody has technically the same type story in the wrestling business. It made it. Somebody has to like you and say, we're going to give this guy a push and do it. And that's how it all stems from there. If nobody likes you, you ain't going nowhere.
Well, you know what, Bill, let me ask you a question. That's a real good segue. What was it about Jack Victory that was likable, that was redeemable about him? Did you know when you met him, because you've been around for a while at that point, did you know that he had that it factor?
Well, yeah, but like I just said, the best thing is, Jack, I need you to do this. Okay. No bitching, no asking why. Just do it. And that's the attitude I had when I started in the business, and that's the attitude I was looking for. And he had it. He'd say, Jack, you go and drive 500 miles next week. Tomorrow, put a guy over and drive back. He wouldn't have said nothing except, okay. Exactly. And that's what it was all about.
Jack, is that what's missing today?
A little bit of respect for the elderly boys and all that stuff. Yeah, I see it. You know, there's everybody wants to be on top all the time, and they don't want to do favors, and so.
Yeah. There you are. So, Bill, were you surprised, my friend?
With that name, yeah. Oh, Jack, I hadn't seen him or talked to him 30 years. It's very nice.
Well, I don't want to take up your time on your interview, sir, but I just, once again, I want to thank you, Bill, and you guys have a great interview.
Thank you, Jack.
Well, brother, we'll do that.
Thank you so much.
And if anybody books in a match and you need somebody to come up and put you over, I'll be glad to do it.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Bill, you take care.
All right, mate, take care, Jack.
All right, mate.
Jack, thanks so much, brother. I'll talk to you in a day or so. How about that? Superstar.
That was very pleasant surprise. That was the last name I would have thought of. That was very good. I appreciate you guys.
You're quite welcome. I talked to Jack a lot, by the way. He's been one of my friends for probably 35 years now. I knew him when he was an 18-year-old kid when he started out. And, and I knew the story of you giving him his name. I kayfabed to him, because he didn't know that I knew, but,
I hear you.
So, it's pretty remarkable that here's a guy, basically he's in the business because of you.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be bragging. Does it ever hit you like, that hit you in the gut, like this guy has a living because of me?
Well, kind of, but that was what I got paid to do, was find talent. So that was your job. It wasn't like we was doing them all a favor. We kind of was, but if they didn't have talent, they would have been gone. So they have to have something in return, you know what I mean? So
sure.
If they had a talent, it was up to me to bring it up and then produce it and give it to the people.
Bill,
Jack had talent then.
Jack mentioned that you were Bill Watts' booker.
Right.
On the show recently, we had a rather interesting debate, writers versus bookers, right? So I don't know what a writer is. Exactly. That's my point. That's exactly my point, and that's what I want to talk about. When the hell did the art of booking wrestling matches disappear?
Well, I mean, technically, you write the show, you lay your TV out, you do all the things. You put Jerry Lawler versus Bill Dundee, the Fabulous Ones versus the Sheepherder. To me, you do all that, but you got to make it all make sense. Or you did back then. I don't know what they do today.
Well, that's
I don't know how Vince plays his
knows
TV.
What the hell they're doing today.
Right. See, this is the thing, the difference. It was real to me, and I was wanting it to be real to the people. So I made the boys do real things or don't do them.
Well, I'll tell you what. If it's any compliment coming from me, and I hope it is, your run with Jerry Lawler seemed like it had a real edge of heat to it, and that made it believable. It made it real. It made it compelling. And every week that Memphis Mid-South Coliseum was sold the hell out.
Damn near.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry Jarrett didn't know how lucky he was to have Lawler and Dundee for 30 years.
You know, I hear Jerry Jarrett talking. He seems like a kindly old man. What kind of guy is he to work with or for?
Oh, back when he was younger, we all mellow as we get older, but he could be a prick back in the good old days. He was the boss, and he didn't mind telling you.
I hear you.
And then he worked with Nick Goulis and George Goulis, so, I mean, they were all the names. When I came here, it was running Memphis.
Now, I got to tell you, you mentioned a name there that I'm very familiar with. Yeah, George Goulis and Nick Goulis. Of course, George was the son of the famous or infamous promoter, Nick Goulis. Now, I got to tell you something. You started out at the same time that my ex-wife started out. She actually worked with you back in the day. Her name was Kim Novak. She wrestled a tag team women's wrestling with Ann Jeanette back in the day. And
yeah, I remember her too.
Yeah, and she was dating David Novak from the Bounty Hunters.
Oh, the Bounty Hunter Novak. Okay, I'm with you now.
Okay. So,
there was Jerry and David Novak, the Bounty Hunters, managed by Jimmy Kent.
Oh, yeah, Cashbox Kent. Absolutely. Jimmy Cashbox Kent.
Yeah.
And, way back in the day, see, because I lived in Tennessee for 15 years. And I lived in Knoxville, and I lived in Crossville for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and you know where that's at. Halfway between, Crossville's halfway between Knoxville and Nashville.
In Nashville, yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, the Nashville Fairgrounds is another place we'll talk about during the conversation. But some of the greatest wrestling in the world took place in the Memphis territory. What was it? What the hell was in the water down there, man?
Well, Nick was hard to do business with.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys that wasn't used to the set didn't like him, so they wouldn't come. Like the Nick Bockwinkel's, the Hulk Hogan's, they were all Ganya boys, and they never came down here. So we had to kind of make our own start, which I'm glad, because me and Jerry Lawler and the Fabulous Ones and a few other guys wouldn't have been stopped if they had brought in Hulk Hogan and Nick Bockwinkel and all them names back then. So we made our own stars.
Absolutely. That's something we're going to talk about at length later on. But we got a couple of guys here that want to ask you questions.
Okay.
I'm not going to hog the whole conversation. Bill, I want to introduce you to my, of course, you already met him, but I'll introduce him for the sake of the audience. My co-host, Dan the Man Sebastiano. Dan, it's all yours, baby.
Hey, Bill. Huge
Dan
fan.
the Man, how are you?
I'm good. It's an honor to talk to you. I appreciate the time. I was hoping to jump forward a little bit. I'm only in my late 30s, so my first experience with you was renting the old Territory tapes. At the time, you had transitioned into a manager. You were with the Barbarian for a while, and then the Mod Squad, those bikers.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember you had mentioned already. We talked about wrestling. We talked about booking. How does one transition from wrestler to manager? Like, put us in that mindset.
Was no mindset. That's what they needed at WCW, and they wanted me to do it, so I did it. You really have
That's
no
right.
say, well, I want to be manager. I want to be. You just do whatever they ask you.
You were with Steven Regal for a while too. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Lord Steven Regal. Yeah.
That's right. That was. So it wasn't a rest period or a transition. It was just they needed a mouthpiece and a manager position, right. And they told you to go do it.
Yeah, and then everybody can't be the main event. So, but the manager, if you get heat on you, everybody wants you to be at ring with them. You know what I mean?
That's
if you
fair.
put all the heat on the manager, if you go to the ring with the Barbarian, he'll get a lot of your heat too. So that's the reason you have managers in the wrestling business.
Right. Speaking of the manager position, something that Angelo brought up about what was in the water down there. I used to love watching the old Memphis tapes because any tape I had, any event, doesn't matter, at least 2-3 times in the background, you'd see security or the police grabbing somebody to jump the barricade.
Oh, yeah.
What was so, at the time, what was so unique about that crowd that no matter how hot things got anywhere, the Memphis crowd, and I know Angelo, I've joked before with Angelo, is I even saw women, heaven forbid you put your hands on Terry Taylor or you put your hands on one of the Rock and Roll Express. Those women jumped the barricade too. What was like, I mean, what was so unique about that crowd? It was all weekend. I came here in January 1970, 74, 75 or whatever. And it was like that from day one. It was, and if you got heat on you, brother, it was a bitch that would follow you down the road in the car, try to run you off the road and all kinds of things. Memphis was a rough town.
Bill, can I ask you a question, Bill?
Yes, sir.
There was one older woman. She went to every show. She was always
every show. Yes, sir.
She was an old lady that had an old house coat on, and she carried a cane with her. You know who
every
I'm
Monday
talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. And she'd whack you with that cane if she could get close enough.
Bill, honest to God, Bill, this is the true story. I told Dan on the last show that we did that woman would crack you with that cane because she thought if, God forbid, if you hurt like, Ricky or Robert or Terry Taylor or any of the pretty boys, she'd beat the shit out of you with that cane.
Yes, she would.
Right.
Yeah, and that was no plan. She just bought a ticket and showed up every Monday.
Yeah, every week. Yep, sure did. Now, Bill, let me ask you a question. You just mentioned something important because we were talking about this. I was trying to smarten up these young kids here, because I'm the old fart of the crew. I'm 61, so I'm the old guy here.
I hear you.
What was it about Monday nights? Usually you see wrestling on a Friday or a Saturday. Why did you guys run on Mondays?
Because we run the other 6 nights were taken, and the TV was done on Saturday morning, and sometimes we would run Jackson, Tennessee on a Sunday, and we would just stay there and come into Memphis on a Monday. So it was all to do with demographics and television.
Gotcha. Okay. Dan, I'm sorry to interrupt your question. Go ahead.
No worries.
Here's the other thing. Jerry Jarrett run Memphis on a Monday night, and Nick Goulas run Birmingham, Alabama on a Monday night. So our territory had 2 Monday night towns. Oh,
wow. Okay. I forgot about that. I forgot that Nick Goulas ran, out of Tennessee when Jerry ran.
Well, Jerry was actually Nick's booker, and then when we came here, that's when I guess you would say the split came. Jerry just started booking his own end Tennessee, and Nick booked the other end, and Jerry won, and the rest is history. I say Memphis became Memphis Wrestling.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
Well, that's crazy. Anything else, Dan? What you got?
Well, I mean, like I said, talking with Memphis and your later time, I was actually thoroughly impressed. I was telling these guys before we got you on the phone. I did some looks back in some old clips to prepare for the show, and saw as early as as late as the summer of last year, you were still kicking ass in the ring.
Still doing it.
I think that's awesome. What do you, once you get past the point of elder statesman and you're still kicking ass at this point, how does that go? How does those conversations go with the young guys in the back? Like, because I assume other than performing, you're also the mentor figure in the locker room.
It is real easy. Then let's not work nothing out. Just go to the ring and grab your best fucking hold, son, and we'll see what happens.
There you go.
And that's the end. That's the end of the conversation.
Trial by fire.
That's
no,
it.
It's called old school.
Old school. You got it.
That's it. See, Bill, here's the thing, and the guys on my show, they know. Tombstone will tell you, Dan will tell you. Here's the thing. I am not a big fan. In fact, I hate it when guys go over in the back of in the back dressing when they go over their match, they go over their spots. That just drives me nuts. Whatever happened to calling it in the ring? Tombstone.
Well,
let's talk to Bill Dundee.
I've been in this business since the early 60s. Don't let that happen back then, too. It just wasn't so obvious. If you wasn't in the match or in the wrestling business, you wasn't allowed in the dressing room.
Exactly.
So nobody could see what was going on or anything like that. So but there was prima donnas back in the good old days, and guys didn't want to do this, and guys didn't want to do that. But the Billy Robinsons, the Tony Charles, the Adrian Streets, there was a lot of shooters. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So if you had a prima donna, you just booked him against Billy Robinson, and he wasn't a prima donna no more.
I know. Billy Robinson would stretch the shit out.
Ooh, Mert, he was a tough son of a gun, and a real likable guy. I like working with him. We had some good matches. Because I could do that English style, and so could he.
Yeah. Tombstone Jesus has a question for you. Go ahead, brother.
Tombstone Jesus.
Bill, sir, it's an honor to speak with you today. I
appreciate it.
You had so many great matches, and then you became a booker, and you like the gentleman who called on the phone earlier, you created some stars, like we talked about. I mean, set people forth on a career. What did you enjoy more, wrestling or booking and creating those stars and helping those characters come about?
Well, the creative part's always in you, because even in your own match, somebody's got to create it. So if you work with me, I did all the talking. You could interject a little bit here and there, but I really wasn't interested in much what you had to say. It was all what I had to say, because I knew where the match was going. A lot of the younger guys didn't. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't know how they do it today. I haven't been to a wrestling show. Hell, I don't know. I ain't been in the ring with this crop of wrestling. I'll wrestle on an old-time show and an older guy, but I'm not getting in there with no young kid that wants to do 10,000 things and nothing means nothing.
I hear you.
Did you enjoy the booking part more than the wrestling, or vice versa?
Well, yeah. I mean, the good thing about the booking part is if somebody you don't like it, get in your fucking car and leave. You don't have to do it. You know what I mean? That you have that part. And back in the good old days, the booker's word was law. So somebody got heat with you and you told him to go, he was done.
Right.
I don't know how it works today, but
yeah, I'll tell you what, Bill, if it's any consolation, brother, you're not missing out on much. Trust me. You're really
No,
not.
I've kind of tried to watch it, and I think, well, that's not what I would have done, but
I tell you, there is a guy with me tonight. He's a very interesting guy because he's got a promotion that's actually doing it old school. And I want to introduce him to you. His promotion is called Devotion Championship Wrestling in Salt Lake City, Utah. And his name is Manny Lemons. Manny, you're up to bat, brother.
Hey, how we doing, guys?
Manny Lemons, how the devil are you?
Good yourself.
All right. If you need a superstar to come up there, you're talking to one.
Yeah, for sure. What? You said that you were in the ring at 75 years old. Is that true?
Yeah, but I don't tell everybody I'm 75.
No,
I'm not saying it because it's me. I mean, when I came here, I was 32 in 1960.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. And I looked 18. So I've always been the kind of love to look younger than I really am.
Yeah.
And I still go to the gym every day. I still work out. Don't bench press 350 pounds like the good old days, but I can do 150. So what the hell?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, you really are in great shape. You really, really are.
Well, I try.
Yeah, because I've seen you recently, currently. And
Yeah.
I tell you what, at 75, I hope the hell I look as good as you. I'm serious. Straight shoot. I'm sorry, Manny. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, no, I'm just listening to you guys here. I guess my question kind of piggybacks off what Tombstone was saying. I guess what was kind of like the most challenging position you held in your career, but yet most rewarding at the same time?
Say that again.
I guess what was the most challenging position you held, but yet most rewarding at the same time in your entire career?
Well, I guess working in the office for Ted Turner, because you had to put up with 3 or 4 other guys. I mean, can't think of this sucker's name. He was a prick. Isn't that awful? Who else worked for Nick, for Ted in the office? If you say his name, I'll remember.
Okay.
In that era was that was pre-Bischoff, so that would have been.
Yeah, that's it. No, that was him, Eric Bischoff.
So another Bill, you worked with Bill Bush, Eric Bischoff, and Jim Hurd.
Yeah.
Oh my God! God bless you, brother. God bless you.
Yeah, God bless you, little old Willie, fighting them all.
Bill? What happens? And I'm sorry, Manny, but I just while it's on my mind and fresh, Bill, what happens to a company that's a wrestling company that's not run by wrestling people? How does that work?
Well, you saw what happened to Ted Turner Company.
Yeah.
When Dusty Rhodes was booking it,
you guys.
Big Dusty Rhodes got a lot of heat from people, but he still kept it wrestling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Eric Bischoff took up, Eric gave you his ideas, and I'm sorry, he's just not a wrestler.
No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Go ahead, Manny.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was really my only question I had. I just kind of listening to you guys and what you guys had to say. You guys kind of already answered the questions I would have had. So.
Well, no, you're not here to listen, brother. You're here to ask questions. Go ahead, Daniel. I'm throwing it back to you.
Well, then let me chime in. If we're gonna keep talking about booking, I'm curious. You've got to have obviously 10 lifetimes worth of stories. What would you say is? Do you have any moments where a booker or someone, you guys were in the back and they pitched an idea and a match outlined something and you had to put your foot down? Absolutely not doing it. Do you have any good stories, or are you completely just rejected a terrible idea? I'm curious about that.
Well, if it was a real terrible idea, everybody rejected it. I mean, not just the booker knew it was bad. See, and I hate to use anybody's name, but some people just interested in that person. I mean, A's wrestling B, and A wants to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He don't want B to do nothing to him. So sometimes you got to put your put down and just let them do what I think's best for the town.
Sure.
It's my job. It's on the line, not theirs.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's how it works.
Sure.
Well, if I can expand on that a little bit, you were talking WCW. One of the famous flop ideas that came from that era was Jim Herd had pitched repackaging Ric Flair. He wanted him to cut his hair and get away from the Nature Boy gimmick and give him almost like a Spartacus kind of gladiator gimmick. And Ric Flair left the company over it. So I'm curious, did you ever see something of that extent? Not just a general, everyone knows it's terrible, but something where you're dumbfounded. I'm really curious to get some of the side dirt. Like I'm not, maybe not name drops, but any ideas that somebody pitched and you're just like, what are you doing?
No, I mean, if I was in charge, that was as far as it went. It was pitched to me. That, you know, I mean, we ain't fucking doing that. So if you want to do it, go somewhere else and do it today. That ain't
stopped with you, and that was it, huh?
That was it. Buck stopped right there. 5'7", 210 pounds. But anyway.
That's crazy. I'll tell you what, you know, it's funny because you're not a super big guy, and a lot of people don't know that. Yeah, but you know what? Here's the thing. We were talking about this the other day, and I want your thoughts on this. You know, you got these guys now. You got a lot of guys that are, you know, super jacked up, and you know, and then you got guys that are skinny as a, you know, as a beanpole, and call themselves wrestlers. You were not, you know, a huge guy, but you had a persona, and you had an aura about you that was larger than life. What happened to those characters, man?
Well, I don't know about them, but with me, that wasn't the character. That was me in real life. What you saw on TV was real.
Exactly.
If if I went to a bar and the big guy was doing this and being a prick, and he wanted to fight, we fought.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was saying earlier about, you know, it was believable. It was, you know, if you had, you know, an ongoing feud with a guy, you know, there was an element that seemed like real heat. So let's talk about that. Were there any of those feuds that stemmed from real life heat?
No, that don't work. That would be like saying give John Wayne real bullets.
Hey,
that wouldn't work.
Right?
Right. And that's just how it is.
And why is it that guys today cannot get across that sense of believability? Where did that get lost in the shuffle?
I think they don't believe. They think jumping off the roof of a building onto a guy on the floor is great. It's not bad athleticism, but it has nothing to do with wrestling.
Exactly. Thank you.
And that's the name of the gate, and it still says wrestling on the marquee.
Exactly.
So I don't know why. Like I said, I don't go around many wrestling matches. I ain't been to a Vince McMahon show in donkey's ages, so I don't know how they think.
Yeah. Well, you're not missing anything. Tombstone, it's on you, baby.
Hey, Bill, weren't you a judo guy?
Yeah, that's how I started with my uncle.
So were you doing like judo at a private club or
Yeah, my uncle had a judo club, and in Scotland he had a judo club. So Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays we would go train. So 3 days a week we trained judo. And then judo, Al Hayes and a few guys back in the day were doing judo. So I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be puked. And that was it.
Yeah.
Was that a kind of smooth transition for you as far as going from judo to wrestling? Do you think that really helped you with your style?
Technically the same thing. Yeah, when they wheel you across the ring, it's just like judo.
Right.
And some guys would do the judo kick and judo chop, and you would sell them the same way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had no trouble going from one to the other.
Awesome.
That's remarkable. Manny, you got something?
I really dig the fact of your believability. Like you said, if you're real and you're gonna make the people believe it's real. I think that's kind of the same mindset that we all have here in Utah. Well, at least
Right.
in devotion.
And here's the other thing. I would want my opponent to believe it was real. So if I had to punch him in the face a little hard to get him to think it's real, that's what he got.
You're right. It's wrestling. It
Exactly.
doesn't hurt, doesn't tickle.
Little
But
cell
it's not
reminder.
ballet. We had a bunch of flippy guys come and go here, just kind of the same thing. You know, you flip, you only could flip so high, so long. I mean, what
Right.
you got after that, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Now,
It's,
Bill, Manny is the owner and promoter of Devotion Championship Wrestling in Salt Lake City, and his guys, they work a little snug style. It's very
Yeah.
old school. I think you'd really like it. It's old school. They really pay tribute, I think, and this is why I like them so much and why I put them over. They work this old school style that doesn't make any pretense. You know, there's no over the top gimmicks. They're all, believable characters. They work. That's the key for me. They work. They're not trying to do flip flop and fly. They're guys
Right.
with a strong match style, and that's why I really like Manny and Tombstone Jesus. By the way, just to break kayfabe for a second, Tombstone Jesus is actually Mike. So you can call
All
him
right.
Mike if you want. So we'll
All right, Mike. How are you?
That's
we'll
out
break
of the
kayfabe.
bag.
But we're not going to tell anybody else, right, Mike?
Oh,
I hear you.
Facebook effed it all up for me a few years
Now, let me
ago,
ask you this.
so.
Question, something here. And it wouldn't mean I'd get no heat with the wrong people except around the South. Tombstone Jesus. Who come up with that name?
Well,
I mean, Memphis.
if you could see me, I kind of got a beard and long hair. And years ago, when I was a wrestling fan, I used to frequent a club, a bar. Back in my drinking days, I'd get out of hand and I'd threaten to tombstone people. And everybody'd call me Jesus because I looked like Jesus. And one day I was threatening to tombstone somebody. And somebody blurted out Tombstone Jesus. I took the name ever since. So
And
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Bill.
I'm a baby face out here, Bill.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
Oh, he's over like Rover, Bill. Yeah, it's funny because he looks
Yes.
like a cross between Magnum TA and Shawn Michaels. If Shawn Michaels was a man.
I'll take
Yeah.
it. I'm a male version of Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, he's the male version.
I hear you. Well-
Absolutely.
Dutch Mantel, when we made Dutch Mantel a baby face, he got over like a son of a gun.
Oh my
Right.
You
God.
know how he looked?
Right.
Oh,
Well, and
yeah.
Magnum, I mean, I don't know if there's a bigger baby face than Magnum.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. You know, Bill, we had Lanny Poffo here last week, and we talked about when he and Randy and their father Angelo Poffo, who I know that you knew. Yeah, and you know where I'm
I
going.
guess you
with
got the story right.
it. Yeah. So I want to ask you, early Macho Man, early Lanny, working with Angelo. Walk me through the minefield called Poffo.
Well, I have no idea what was wrong. Then this started off an outlaw group and came into Memphis and was going to take over.
That's
Well,
what I heard.
Yeah, that's what they tried to do. And me and Randy got into a fight. He sucker punched me, and I was going to shoot him. So that was the end of the fight.
We heard that, and I was like, no, I heard that there was a gun involved. Somebody pulled a gun.
Yeah. Yes,
What the
there
hell
was.
was that all about? Because see, here's the thing. There's a lot
All right,
of wrestling.
you're going to get it straight from the horse's mouth right here.
Well, here's the thing, though. You know how the rumor mill is, Bill. You've been around a long time. you know.
Yeah.
And every time the story gets told, you know, there's this another element that's added to it.
Right.
I got you here. You're the guy that was involved. I'm going to shut up and let you tell the story.
All right. When the Paphos came into town, Jerry Jarrett was the promoter, and they would go on the TV and knock Jarrett, knock me, knock Lawler, and we never said nothing about them. So I went to the gym one day, and I came out of the gym, and I saw Lenny Paphos walking down in front of my car. So he kind of said hello, and I said hello back to him. You know, at the end of the story, you know why he stopped and said hello, but anyway, and I was leaning back against my car, and we were talking about 2 or 3 minutes, and the next time bam, and I thought, what the? You came out and punched me in the eye. And I thought, you motherfucker, if I get to the back of my car, I will restore order. So I went to the back of my car, and that 38 was laying there, so I go in there, and cockpit and threw it on his head. And he said, you're crazy. I said, I'm crazy. You're the one that started this fucking fight, boy, and you think I'm crazy? So Randy has more brains than Randy. So he said, Bill, calm down, calm down. We don't nobody should accept this, is it? So that was the end of that story.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you
Oh,
about
well,
it,
not
but-
quite. That was just that part. By the time I get home, there's a cop shows up at my door with a warrant for arrest.
Oh, no.
So they went to the police
Shit.
station and wanted me arrested.
Yeah, we didn't hear that part.
I was going to say
But
there.
I'm going to swear the warrant out on him. So we go to court, but nobody ended up going. He dropped his thing, I dropped mine, because it wasn't good for business.
That's crazy.
Being with guns and all that kind of stuff.
That's
So that was a
nuts.
true story.
Well,
There's-
yeah, I know. Here's the thing, you know, Dan and I, you know, we heard the story, but we heard like, you know, a fifth or sixth removed account of the story. So I said, you know, when Bill comes on, I want to let him tell the story. This way we hear it from the horse's mouth, just like you said.
Right.
Go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say that there's your exclusive, Angelo. You know, everybody else tells the story. It ends at the car. We get the rest the second half.
Exactly. I didn't know there was. See, that's the thing. I didn't know there was, you know, that, you know, the pokey come to you, knocked on your door and serving you a warrant and shit.
Right.
You know, we
Yeah,
didn't
they
hear
went
that
and-
part.
They went and took the warrant out on me
That's crazy.
for assault with a deadly weapon.
Yeah, I heard, but I thought to myself, man, that must have gotten really the fuck out of hand. Holy shit.
Well, at least now we definitively know who won it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Bill, I was hoping to.
Randy just run away, and I went home. And by the time he run away, he went to the police station, showed a warrant out for me. So by the time I got home, the cop shows up, knocks on the door.
Well,
funny.
the story that we heard is that, you know, Randy liked to run his mouth, you know, but he wasn't like all that entirely enthused about getting into physical altercations with people. But he liked
No.
to, you know, is that pretty much the gist of it?
Right. He would do that unless he would, you know, 2 or 3 of his buddies around him or whatever. But no, I never ever saw him have a fight with nobody.
Yeah, that's what we heard. That's what we heard. Go ahead, Dan.
Bill, I was hoping to expand a bit. I had to pull up the list because I knew I wouldn't be able to name them all off the top of my head. In a period, in an era, you mentioned wrestling for, you know, back in the starting in the 60s, in an era when title reigns were very long and multiple championships were rare, you were a 14-time Southern Tag Team Champion with everybody from Jerry Lawler to Dutch Mantel to Eaton and everybody. I'm curious, how does that go about? At what point did it, how many times does they have to come to you? All right, Bill, we're going to put the tag titles on you again with this guy, or you and Jerry Lawler are going to win the title for a fourth time. How does that conversation keep coming up?
Well, most of the time, me and Lawler's in the office. So you go up there and lay out all your TVs and all your matches and all the things you do. So we knew before anybody else what was going to happen.
Yeah. Bill, I got to ask you, what the hell's it like to work in the office with Jerry Lawler?
Oh, real easy. He's a very talented guy.
He seemed like for a while there, he was kind of like you guys were ahead of your time.
Right.
It really seemed that way because you guys were doing things in Memphis that had never been done before, including, having, Jerry Lawler face a Hollywood celebrity, by the way, who I knew. I knew Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
And Bill Apter and I actually talked about that when I had Bill on the show 2 weeks ago. And, and a lot of people, and I'm going to tell you guys were brilliant, and I mean brilliant, in kayfabing that whole thing to the point where nobody knew the line between reality and work.
Right.
How did
nobody talked about it.
How did you keep it secret for so long?
I just said nobody talked about it.
Ah, okay. So silence is golden.
Right. So, I'd show up at the matches if I was running the show, and I would have all the finales and what we were doing, Broadway, do whatever, this and that. Yeah. And nobody knew it but me. So when I called you into the room, that was the first time they ever heard it.
Wow. That's amazing.
So, it was like, well, Ricky and Robert are going over tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and if anybody didn't like it, they just packed their bag and they left.
Exactly. Exactly. Go ahead, Dan.
Speaking of leaving and travel, I'm curious. It was a pretty big deal when you and Jerry Lawler appeared in the AWA, and Vern was not known for playing nicely with some of the other promoters. How did that go about? Did you guys pitch yourselves, or did somebody from the Minnesota contact you all and want you to come up there? How did that go about? Because that was a pretty big deal, you two going up to the AWA at the time.
Yeah, but Lawler was going up there as a single, and Vern liked it, so he suggested the tag thing with Vern and young Vern and whoever. What's his name? The young Gagne boy.
Oh, Greg Gagne.
So when they said Greg Gagne in the pot against Lawler and Dundee, that wasn't hard to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill, why was Vern so paranoid?
I don't know if it was really paranoid, but he was a hell of a shooter, a tough son of a gun. So
yeah, but
I don't quite know how he looked at the business.
But here's the thing, though. He wore that strap for years, way past his prime.
Right.
What was it about him holding on to that belt that he did not want to give up that belt?
Well, I have no real. I never liked to be the champion because you have to carry the belt around for one thing, and most of the territory is on your back. So I don't know why he wanted to be the champion.
I never understood that as a fan. I should tell people that Bill Dundee has an amazing book called "If You Don't Want the Answer, Don't Ask the Question."
Right.
And I want to talk about your book. This was probably because I read a little bit of it in preparation for this interview. And the one thing that I have to start off with is saying that you were incredibly honest and open, more so than I've read in any wrestling book, where people tend to, for whatever reason, I don't know, everybody's smart enough, but a lot of wrestling books still want to kayfabe you. And you didn't do that. You were, you wrote it from your perspective, straight shoot. You didn't hold back, and I like that. What was it, that inside you that said, I got to put this into a book?
Well, people would just say to me, write a book, and I would say, okay, but never really had no thought of writing one. So I got talking to Lance Russell one day, and he said, Bill, I believe you could do a hell of a job of writing a book. So I sat and talked to him for a couple of hours, and he wrote down what I was saying. He said, see, it's fine. So I just went, okay, I'll give it some thought. So I did. And you saw how it ended up.
Yeah, it's a great book, by the way. It really is. Once again, the title of it is called "If You Don't Want the Answer, Don't Ask the Question." Where'd the title come from? That's an interesting title for a book.
How many times have you did somebody say, "Well, how was my match?" And if it was great, it was great. If it sucked, it sucked. But you don't want to hear that part. They just want the great part. So that was how I called it.
Exactly.
When you come back to after somebody has a match, you get to see my match. How was it? Oh, it sucked. They don't want to hear that. They want you to tell them how great
don't want the answer, don't ask the question. Exactly.
That's how it came up. You don't want the answer, don't ask the question. Don't ask the question.
Tombstone, you're up, brother.
Yeah. So what do you think you did more of, singles or tag matches? I mean, being a tag champion 14 times, I'm assuming you probably did more tag teaming.
Whatever, how can I put this to you? Memphis wasn't the biggest territory in the world as far as having a lot of guys in here at the same time. So if it called for a tag, we did a tag. Sometimes we do 3 singles and a tag at the end of the night. So you'd only have 3 matches and a tag match because there was only the 6 guys on the court. And some of them went down. And then it got that reputation to be a tag team territory, so that's what we did. So, and I would rather be in a tag match than a single. I think they're more exciting.
Yeah, the psychology is definitely, there's a lot more involved with the tag match. That was going to be my next question, too. What you thought about the psychology of doing tag work?
Well, somebody has to be in charge of it. There's usually one guy calling the shots in the tag match. I mean, a few years ago, I would never answered the question this way, but everybody's half smart now anyway. So somebody has to, it's like the quarterback in the football field. He's calling the plays and he's calling the shots and he's doing the same in the tag match. Somebody has to be the quarterback.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Were you generally the quarterback, Bill?
Either me or Lawler. Or both of us, and if it was just me and somebody else, it was usually me. Yeah. Here's the other thing. It was my body, and I wasn't going to want you to abuse it the way you wanted to abuse it. I would let you abuse it the way I wanted to abuse it. So calling the shots and calling the bumps, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue, Bill. That's a really good segue. When you're giving your body to a guy, you expect the same amount of respect in return. Have you ever been in a ring with a guy, who just, flipped this, the script on you and went into business for himself, maybe worked a little snug, worked stiff with you, and have you ever had to give a receipt?
Oh, lots of them. And I was usually the guy that gave out the, whatever you're calling the little stiff. I mean, I want the match to be good. And most of the time, well, we lived here. So if you're in town from Florida and it don't get over, you can just go back to Florida. We have to be here. We got to be here the next week, the next month, the next year. So I didn't
absolutely.
So I would call the matches and do whatever, and book them and the TVs and all them other things. There's a lot of work goes into a TV show on every Saturday morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're doing one every Saturday, an hour and a half.
Bill, do you wrestle differently for television than you do in a live event?
Well, it depends on the match. If it's just a squash match and you go out and kick the guy's ass in about 2 minutes, yeah, you do that. But if you're trying to build for something, you may go 15 minutes, 20 minutes on a TV match, and that's technically giving them what they're going to see at the live show.
Yeah, and you went exactly where I thought you were going to go, which is good, because my next question, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Dan. Usually, those longer matches, the programs, could make or break a territory. Certain stars with certain heat could make or break a territory. What happened to the territories, and when did they die off with heat? Why did heat die from the territory system?
Well, it wasn't that part so much. See, when we did the Memphis TV show every Saturday morning, 100 miles around Memphis, thought that was the only TV show in America that day. There was one in Nashville. There was one in Louisville, Kentucky. One in Evansville, Indiana. The same show that we were showing in Memphis played in all them towns too. So when all that started catching up with it, it was hard to go with a different card all the time. So it just got hard to follow the tape.
Yeah, I guess you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Go ahead, Dan.
Bill, I want to go off something I've asked a couple of guests, and it's always been a point. Eddie Graham used to say everybody in wrestling has a first love and a true love. I'm curious, in your career, who was your go-to? Who is the person you would have crossed the country to have a match with? Who was your favorite person to work with in your career?
Good question.
Lawler. Jerry Lawler. And Jerry Jarrett was the other thing. I mean, he was the brains and all the things that told me what to do and how to do it and how to put a match together and how to put a TV together and what you did and what you didn't do. So that would be Jerry Jarrett for the behind-the-scenes thing and Jerry Lawler for the in-ring stuff.
Dan, can I pick up for just a second
absolutely.
where you left off? And then I'll get back to you. Bill, Dan just mentioned Eddie Graham in Florida. Everyone credits him with having, the keenest head for psychology and finishes. Aside from Eddie Graham, who's a guy that you've come across that maybe we wouldn't know, who had a really, really good head for finishes and psychology? Well, I mean,
Jerry Jarrett, we mentioned him. He was very good at what he did. His father-in-law, Eddie Marlin, was very good at that part.
Oh, yeah. That's a name you don't hear anymore.
No, I mean, he went on to the bigger arena in the sky, but when he was around here, he learned from Jerry Jarrett. He learned with Nick Goulas. He learned. So he was very good at behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Eddie Graham, I mean, I first met Eddie in Australia when he came to work for Jim Barnett in Australia.
Right.
And he wasn't a big guy. I mean, he was 5'8", maybe tall.
Yeah.
220 pounds, maybe.
Yeah.
But he was a tough son of a gun.
Yeah.
But
sure was.
Tough sons of guns don't draw you no money unless you're going to work with them. You know what I mean? So this is a work. This is showbiz.
Yeah. Well, what was it about Eddie and his head for psychology? Why was he considered like this, almost like mythic like stature when it comes to wrestling psychology? What separated him? Why was he different?
Well, he would make you do it to be. How can I say this to you? If you shoot a guy off and back drop him 10 feet in the air and he lands on his back, if he don't sell that, the 10 feet in the air didn't mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So Eddie would make you sell shit and put holes on you and hurt you in them just because he could. But he also drew a lot of money. And his son Mike drew a lot of money. Most of it in Florida, but they had it going.
Yeah. Sure did.
See, it's hard. How can I say this to you? And I hate the word fake because there's nothing fake in wrestling. It's predetermined.
Oh, I know. We had that conversation too.
It's predetermined, maybe, but not fake. And people, oh, well, that's fake. No, it ain't. So, I mean, that gets heat with me if anybody ever says it to me. I'll just have to see how much fake they know about it. So,
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Bill. I just, the last show that we had, and Dan will tell you, the last show we had, I went off on a tangent about that.
Yes.
Because there's nothing fake about getting your head slammed into a turnbuckle that's got no give.
Right.
And there's nothing fake about being thrown out of the ring over the top rope and landing on your head on a cement floor.
Right.
There's nothing fake about a broken leg.
And there's nothing fake about Bill Dundee punching you in the face either.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a great segue. Dan, and we'll go to you, and then we'll go to Tombstone.
All right. Well, I guess it's been long enough. I know a lot of wrestlers don't like telling too many dark stories. I'm going to ask you the other side of the Eddie Graham question. You said Jerry Lawler was your favorite. In your career, did you ever run into anybody that you put your foot down and said, that guy's a bum, he's unsafe, that you just refused to work with? Did you have a least favorite, somebody on the opposite end of the spectrum?
No, not really, because I wouldn't bring you if you had any kind of reputation. See, once you get here, it's my reputation that's on the line, not yours. It doesn't matter if you're the first match or the main event. The booker books them all. So once you get here and if you're a prick, you just ain't coming.
So
you were the way I always used to look at it.
You're a one strike and you're out kind of guy. They got got on Superstars bad side once and that was it.
Well, yeah, but it didn't have to be here. If you had one strike and gone your territory, I'm not bringing you in because you don't change on the plane ride from Minneapolis to here.
I can respect that.
All right, Tombstone, you're up, brother.
Yeah, Bill, back in the Tennessee territory days, how many nights a week were you guys running shows, and how much of that would end up on the weekly TV show?
Nothing on the TV show. We run seven nights a week most of the time. Did a live TV show Saturday morning and did another show Saturday night in Jonesboro, Arkansas, usually. So the TV made for Memphis. We made the TV in Memphis an hour and a half every Saturday morning, and then we made a 40-minute show, and we showed that in Louisville, Evansville, Lexington, Kentucky, Tupelo, Mississippi, and all the little towns around got that bicycle tape, and Memphis got Memphis.
Yeah.
And that
TV
I'll tell you what, just
Bill.
So powerful back then. I mean, you
right.
guys were showing up at these towns, and they all knew the storylines and knew who had heat, and I mean, you were packing the houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Bill. I was in researching a little bit. I was told that Memphis Wrestling was the most watched program in Memphis, Tennessee, and the surrounding areas when it was on more than the news, more than any other television program at the time, that everyone watched wrestling.
Right. It certainly was the most watched TV show on Saturday morning. And it was the most watched wrestling show out of America. No, there was more people watched Memphis TV than there were people watched Eddie Graham's show in Florida.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And so what was it about that area that was such, a hotbed? We talked on the last show about wrestling hotbeds throughout the country. And we mentioned, of course, Memphis and Mid-South, Mid-Atlantic, the Texas, of course. There were certain areas that were hotbeds. What was it about that area that was so driven to the product wrestling at the time?
All right. Jerry Lawler was Memphis, Tennessee's favorite son, and he was the star on Memphis wrestling. The Von Erichs were the favorite sons of Texas. They were all on a wrestling show. The Grahams were in Florida. So the Memphis just had a live show, and we was the only live show at the time. We was doing it to be being done. So nobody else had a live show on Saturday morning, just Memphis. Hour and a half.
I forgot about that you guys were actually live. You weren't pre-taped.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it was all what you see is what you got.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot all about that being live. That's a good point.
We did a deal where we had the bad guys run Lawler over in the car. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I actually have. Yeah.
And it hits him and knocks him up in the air, and he'd lay on the ground. And then
Yeah.
we have to call the ambulance saying we're on live TV.
That's
So you can imagine how all the news channels and the other channels picked up on that. Jerry Lawler run over by a car. Yeah. They played it all over the Mid-South.
Yeah.
And it drew.
Well, that's another point. A lot of the stuff that you guys did made the mainstream news.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How strange is that for a wrestling show to make the 6 o'clock news?
That's how
All right.
real it was.
Let me tell you a little bit. It was Dave Brown and Lance Russell both did the news too, or the weather. So that Dave Brown did the news. He worked at a TV station, and so did Lance.
Yeah.
So it's not too hard to get a little segment of wrestling on something else.
Well, I never thought about that, but you're absolutely right. Dave Brown and Lance Russell absolutely came from, the legitimate news
Channel
industry.
5, the TV, that's it.
Yeah. Well, now it makes sense.
It's,
Bill, I'll tell you what, we're going to have to say goodnight to you, but before we do, I got to bring you back for a part 2. Can you do that for me?
Yeah, anytime. Just give me a call and let me know when you want me to do it.
I sure will. I want to thank you, my friend. I'm going to have to let you go now, but we're just getting started, really.
Oh,
But we only have an hour and a half show, and I got to get some other stuff in. But I definitely want to bring you back. Is that okay?
All right, and I've only got 50 years to tell you about, so we're good.
There you
I can't
go.
wait to ask you more questions, Bill. This has
Excellent.
been an honor.
Well,
All right, guys, I enjoyed it.
We are so honored to have superstar Bill Dundee with us tonight. We're going to say goodnight to you, Bill, and I will call you tomorrow and set up part 2 with you. Okay, friend?
All right, brother, looking forward to it, and good night to you all and all your people that help you and all the fans out there.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
God bless you,
Night
brother.
to
Take
you,
care.
sir.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
Wow, that was beautiful. That was a
was
great,
awesome.
great. That was
You know,
a great interview.
It's funny you were talking about how big their ratings were. I know we touched on it before. I used to watch all the old the Memphis tapes. We would get the bootlegs, and the announcer on the tape said in all his years covering Memphis, the only 2 things that ever got bigger ratings than Memphis was the tornado warnings and Elvis's death.
Yeah. And you know what? He said something I completely forgot about, that they were live.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
forgot all about that.
Like I said, I was watching the bootlegs. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I really, Tombstone, think about that, man. They were live.
And nobody did live shows back then.
Their time. And when you think about how passionate those fans were and why people were getting stabbed and like you say, someone would always go over the gate or whatever. It's because they made it that real.
Now I'll tell you what. I'll tell you something, Tombstone. Dan here, being the young upstart, I had to smarten him up about some stuff. The last show that we did, I told him about. Now, Dan, tell me if I'm lying. I told him about that little old lady in the front row.
Yeah.
And Bill, I'm glad that Bill knew exactly who I was talking about.
Remembered her.
Yeah.
Man, she used to crack you. This lady was brutal.
He said anybody got too close got whacked with that cane.
Yeah, man, she had this big cane with like a big hook on it, and she would hit you with it. Oh my God. I saw these guys would like have welts on their back. That woman was brutal. God rest her soul wherever she's at, but I hope she's in heaven now.
It was just real to those people.
Brutal.
Oh yeah.
So what's going on, my brother? What's going on with the Devotion Championship Wrestling?
Well, Manny just messaged me. He had to cut out because where we run our shows, the owner of the building's showing up to meet him. So out here in Utah, we're a little bit lax on the virus. I think we got a little over 100 deaths. We never did a lockdown. And the state's slowly starting to get back into to doing things. So right now we're kind of day to day on when we can get something going. We need to record. Yeah. We need to have a show. I mean, small businesses are getting killed here. Well, indie wrestling is small business, you know, and so for us not being able to run a show and stuff, it's been
it's been hard. Brutal. I'll tell you what. We're
just kind of day to day on when we can do one again. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say to you that they just announced the first live wrestling show here in Jersey, and it's not scheduled till September.
Yeah. See, but it's a whole different world out there with what you have no idea, brother. Oh, that dense population, I mean, Salt Lake's just it's a bigger city, not like what you're dealing with out there. So so we're hopefully, it may end up. It's kind of day to day, but hopefully here within the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be able to at least record a show.
Yeah. How long has it been since you guys actually set tape down?
March 7th was our last
Oh my God!
show.
Wow.
That's how long it's been. They went from 100 people to 50 people in 3 days as far as gatherings, and then from there we've just been waiting it out, So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Dan, what's it looking like in Virginia?
All the smaller companies are feeling it. Luckily, we had a lot of stuff taped from the year before, so the television show's just been going on.
Yeah.
With older matches. I was on last Saturday. There was a match with me from like about a year and a half. It's just hit YouTube. You'll have to check it out, Angelo.
Yeah.
So luckily, we had a lot of that there to fill in for our TV. So
it's keeping you guys visible.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah.
The TV keeping them visible. Go ahead, Dan.
Goes to what we were touching on with social media. Now here in the wrestling scene here in Virginia, they canceled a March show just at the last minute, which is a shame because the guest of honor at that show was supposed to be Sergeant Slaughter. That was going to be a big turnout.
Yeah,
that was his first appearance in this area in like 20 years.
It's funny that you say that because the last thing, talking about Jeff the Ref, the last thing that he promoted was that March 14th show.
Yep.
at the high school, right?
It was
a
at
benefit
the
show.
Mason Temple here.
Oh, was it the temple?
Yeah, the one that the Sergeant Slaughter was going to be at was here in Norfolk.
Oh, I thought it was supposed to be at the high school.
I think it was. You know what? Maybe it was at the Hampton High School. Now that I think about it, it's been a few months.
I think that's what Jeff was saying. It was at Hampton High School.
Yeah,
because they have a wrestling team they were supposed to raise money for.
Yeah, it was a big fundraiser. You're right. That was Hampton High. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, I remember him saying Sergeant Slaughter, and then all of a sudden, no show.
Yeah, I was actually I was gonna dress up as the Iraqi version of Sergeant Slaughter as a kind of an in joke.
Yeah, that's
you could
Travis,
pull that
right? Travis
off,
Bradshaw.
bro.
What's that?
Was that Travis Bradshaw, right? He's the promoter there.
Yeah, and but yeah, we were right now. The governor just announced this week here in Virginia, masks are mandatory at least until July, all public places except if you have medical like a medical note, or you don't have to have your mask on if you're physically eating, but the tables and restaurants have to be spaced out. And then transit, so to and from the bathroom, to and from your car, you throw your mask back on. So I don't see an event like a wrestling show around here for probably at least, like you said, at least until the fall.
Yeah.
I predict that we'll be having one of the first shows with people live in the country.
Well, we touched on it.
That's my prediction where we're at right here in Utah. Now, whether it's a public show or not, I don't know. But
I know we touched on it, Tombstone. Last show we were talking about the WWE had just started using their enhancement or their training talent as the crowd because they're recording at the Performance Center, but for some reason they surrounded the seating area with the plexiglass like you'd see at a hockey game, the big plexiglass walls, and it was so distracting trying to watch that on TV.
I don't understand that. I don't get that at all. Why?
Yeah, I didn't get the reasoning behind it, but it was very distracting to watch on television and see the plexiglass between the ring and the crowd. It just didn't look right.
just don't understand that. I mean, for what reason? You know, I don't know. I guess they had extra money to spend.
I mean, I don't understand the mentality that the wrestlers can't breathe on each other in the crowd, but in the ring they can sweat in each other's mouths without problem.
Does that make any sense to you?
No,
I don't get it.
Well,
I don't get it.
The same people that can go have a match can't sit next to each other in the crowd.
Yeah.
And just that wrestling without a crowd. I mean, guys, I'm a wrestler, and it's almost hard to watch. So,
well, you know what? Because I was just going to ask you, Tombstone. I was going to ask you exactly that question. You know, you're a guy. You work. You know, you're a worker. You know, what's the mentality of going into the ring? You know, and selling to an audience that's not there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that could end up being something I have to do, and I would dread that because, I mean, it's almost like peanut butter and jelly. I mean, wrestling in an audience, I mean, Jiminy, you know, I mean, you feed off the fans, and, you know, I'm an MMA fan, and so finally they started doing some fights. Well, I have no problem with watching the fights with no fans. For me, it was a little bit entertaining. You could hear the cornerman, and you could really just hear that impact, you know.
Yeah.
But wrestling without fans, for me, it's like cereal without milk or peanut butter, no jelly. I mean, it's something missing here, and it's hard. I mean, I almost wonder if they should throw up a laugh track that's like a fan track.
Well,
or something.
And it's funny.
Silly as that sounds.
No, but I want to tell you something. On a serious note, I had Bill Apter here a couple of weeks ago. You know, Bill Apter is very respected in the business, and he said the same thing. Because WWE has the technology. That's a great book, by the way. He's coming back. You know, Bill said, you know, WWE has the technical capabilities not only to put in ambient crowd noises, you know, through the tapes, you know, and pump it into the building, but they also have the ability to simulate a crowd. They have the technical ability to make the building look like there's people in there.
Well, and it's funny with the you see that with the WWE anytime. I mean, they get caught. It seems like weekly almost on their YouTube channels where they edit out boos or they hype up cheers because wrestlers aren't getting the crowd reactions they want. You
Well,
know, how many times have they had to mute the crowd because they're booing someone like a Roman Reigns?
Well, Dan, I'm gonna smarten you. I'm gonna smarten you guys up to something you may not know. Okay. Even during their live shows before the Corona hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is to show you where they're at, where their mentality is. You know those chants that you hear people doing in the crowd? Let me tell you how they started. The WWE was piping in the chants.
Yep.
And then people would pick up on it. They did the same thing with boos and cheers. A lot of people don't know that. But I'm not in the business, so I don't have to keep the secret. So fuck it.
Yeah, that was a big reveal in Eric Bischoff's book. He talked about the Goldberg chant during his entrance.
Exactly.
He said 99% of the time that was completely artificial. The crowd never chanted for like that.
They never did. You're exactly right. Exactly right.
The chant was basically part of the entrance theme.
And that was where I was going with this. You know, they've been doing it for a long time. Mm-hmm. Now that you need it, why not do it?
Right.
Okay.
Well, like I mentioned on the last show, AEW was using some sporadic wrestlers. Billy Gunn and his son, by the way, MVPs of that show the last couple months, the way they would cheer. But, you know, even if you have 30 people in the crowd with the occasional cheer or you know, like Tombstone, I know you've been to enough training and training matches where you run in where you'll have you have the guys, you know, check the arm, you know, yelling stuff like that, where it just adds a little bit of ambience to watch something, especially like WrestleMania, with no reaction. You know, a huge moment at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre gets crowned. The next big thing, holds up the title over a fallen Brock Lesnar to dead silence.
No pop.
It doesn't. You can never play that highlight again as part of his.
I'm to a point where with this technology, let's get a green screen behind there like we got behind Angelo, and let's Skype 100 people's faces.
Right.
Exactly.
Right? Let's Skype 100 people's faces, have them coming in live on Skype, and let them all cheer and boo and flip the crowd off. You know, whatever. I mean, anything at this point. You know, if you got to have a virtual crowd that's a real crowd, hell, throw up a fake crowd. Have 10, 15 people in there yelling,
you know,
hit him, something.
You know, we could do that we could do that with our show. When we come on every week, I can have applause. I can have people behind me. I can do all that.
Yeah. And
just
have
a real live audience.
And all I have is a freaking computer.
We can add in applause and boos and there'd just be more sounds for Angelo to cut off and talk over.
You know what? Less is more.
I seriously think they need to come up with something, but I hope it doesn't come to that. You know, I mean, people are worried about a second wave and this and that. I don't want to get too much into this on your show, but I'm hoping things are going to get back to somewhat normal, where we can go to a wrestling event and yell and scream and enjoy ourselves again. Because, you know, these are sometimes it's the little things in life that we're all here living for, you know. For some
I'll tell you what,
to go to
a
wrestling show.
Amen to that. Well, speaking of wrestling shows, so when you guys are going to get back, probably sooner than the rest of the country, when that happens, is Manny looking at a particular date for like an open?
Well, at this point, I don't know about a date, and then for that matter, I mean, I don't know if you release that date. I mean, I've seen some to be announced type things going on around the country because let's face it, you know, there's a lot of paranoid people out there that might try to shut it down.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very different. It's going to look very different, Dan. It really, really is. It's not going to look the same initially. Well, I will tell you, I think it'll get back to where it was.
Yeah.
But I think we're at least a year out from that, to be honest with you. I really do. I think we're at least a year out. I think it's that this whole Corona COVID thing has really, like Tombstone said, it's ramped up the paranoia factor to 50 right now.
Right.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And
even if the wrestling companies want to have the crowds, the arenas and the owners of the arenas and the cities aren't going to let the crowds come in.
Well,
it's going to come down to the government, your local government. What really?
Right.
That's why. Utah, we're a good state as far as we didn't get hit hard with Corona. South Dakota, there's a few other of these states, and those will be the ones I'd be looking to see an indie show come out of first.
Well,
California, it's going to be a long time.
The only reason that the WWE and AEW were able to continue filming was because of they owned the arenas that they were filming in.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, right. But it's considered private. It's private property.
Especially in the case of AEW, where filming in Jacksonville Stadium, they own that building.
I'll tell you what
I can't film in my own house.
I'll tell you what happened here in New Jersey just yesterday. In fact, now we're recording this show on Thursday, May 28th.
Yes.
Yesterday, May 27th, Wednesday, the governor here has Governor Phil Murphy in New Jersey has allowed for the reopening of sports venues at 25% capacity. Now, to put that in context, if you've got a 10,000 seat building, that's 2,500 people.
Oh, so the Jets aren't going to notice then?
No, either will WWE. Yeah, they won't know a thing.
Sorry, Jersey fans. I couldn't resist.
That's quite all right. They deserve it. But there are other venues out here that are private that have a little bit more flexibility. Of course, the publicly owned arenas, their hands are pretty tied. Like we were just talking about. But it's going to be a while before you get a crowd of 15 or 20,000 at a wrestling show. When they finally do, I think people are just going to go just to get the hell to a show somewhere.
Right.
Whether it's good, bad, it doesn't make any difference. They just want to see their wrestling.
Yeah. Even
the indie shows. Right now, I'd pay $20 just to go see a fucking indie show somewhere.
Yeah.
And the promoter that I deal with, he's lucky if he's got 500 or 600 people show up. That's a big crowd for him.
Mm-hmm.
For an indie show, that's a big crowd. Except if you're Devotion, then they come out in fucking droves. But 500 people, at the local fitness center, which by the way is sizable. They could get 2,000 people in this building, but they won't.
Mm-hmm.
500 though is a nice crowd. They're lucky.
Well, they might have to take everyone's temperature at the door.
Well, and that's
like that.
Yeah,
and you might have to sit 20 people here, and then let's have an area a separate, and then another 20.
And that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah,
you nailed it. You nailed it. That's exactly.
If they got to wear masks, let them bring their lucha masks.
Well, I got news for you. The whole mask thing is getting real creative. It's getting really creative. Yeah. And wrestling fans I have to give kudos to wrestling fans. because they've got some of the most creative face masks in the world.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, look, his cat's making a cameo
Isn't
again.
that a gorgeous cat? I was wondering if my cat was to come join the show. Looks like
Dan's cat got a bigger pop than he did on the last.
Well, yeah, it's like he's got his tail in his ear.
Yeah. Well, we're going to wrap it up, fellas. So, Tombstone, what's going on in Salt Lake? Fill me in.
Brother, like I say, you keep posted over here. You keep tuned because something's coming. I can't say when exactly, but I can say it's coming soon. Like I'm willing to bet we'll be one of the first companies to have some kind of something go on.
Yeah.
And just stay tuned as far as that goes. Me, myself, I got to get my ass in shape. This quarantine about killed me. I was
going to ask you, what are you doing to stay active and stay, keep that physique of yours?
I was lifting buckets full of rocks and doing whatever I could. But I got to tell you guys that the quarantine, I couldn't go to my gym. I got a little depressed. I started eating shitty and a little bit of fat around my belly to prove for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I am working my ass off.
I know, brother. You got that big gold belt behind you. You better be able to put it on.
Exactly. I'll tell you, you get up in your little tights and your plum smugglers into front of 800,000 people now and again, and it will motivate you to go and work out.
Yeah, absolutely. So plug your YouTube, plug your social media, give everybody a heads up.
Guys, come hit me up on Facebook, Tombstone Jesus, public figure. Hit me a like. YouTube, we got wrestling, we got music, we got comedy. Tombstone Jesus, subscribe. Hit me on the Instagram as well. And then Devotion Championship Wrestling. Manny had to take off and deal with that building owner. But and Manny Lemons, follow him on Instagram as well. And Devotion Championship Wrestling. And then look for me on this podcast anytime I get an invite, guys.
Oh, brother, you got an open-ended invite here. You know that. We like you. We're going to put you over. And I like Devotion, too. That's why I wanted you and Manny here. I'm sorry he had to bail out on us, but that's okay. Because he'll be back.
You got to keep that business rolling. We'll get him back on the show again.
Absolutely. Dan, tell everybody what's happening with us.
Well, we're on Facebook and YouTube, Wrestling with the Future podcast. We're also on Twitter, Wrestling Future, no G, Wrestling Future. I'm on Twitter at @theman_WWTF. We've got the private and public Facebook pages going, Twitter, YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Buy the T-shirt.
Yep. And
check us out.
All right. Well, let me give everybody a heads up on some upcoming guests on June 4th. Oh, on June 2nd, the Boogeyman, Jimmy Valiant, will be here. Next Tuesday, Boogie Woogie will be here. And I love Jimmy. I've known Jimmy for 32 years. And he's a great guy, and he was kind enough to include me in his book. So if you have Jimmy Valiant's book, I'm in it, page 564.
That is awesome.
Little putting me over. On June 4th, we've got one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time, Joyce Grable, will join us for a one-on-one, her first ever one-on-one podcast appearance. She'll be with us for the whole show. We've got Scott Teal, the wrestling book author, joining us. John Arezzi will be joining us from Pro Wrestling Spotlight. He can also be heard on the Jim Cornette Network with Brian Last. You can see their videos, I believe it's Arcadian Vanguard on YouTube.
Yes,
I want to make sure.
Vanguard Network.
Okay. I want to make sure that I can shout out to John. We've got Sam Houston for not one, but 2 shows coming up next week. I'm looking forward to that one. May have a special run-in on that. Also, Baby Doll will be coming back for an appearance. our very own Mike Messier will be joining Monty and the Pharaoh on June 4th. So keep an eye out for Mike Messier. See what else is going on here. We have the you plug the private group. So we have a private group on Facebook and a public page. You can also hit me up at Angelo DeCipio, or you can reach me at my psychic page on Facebook. It's simply Psychic Angelo. On Twitter also, it's Psychic Angelo and Wrestling Future. You want to email us questions or comments, show suggestions, it's wrestlingwiththefuture@gmail.com. And I answer everything that comes in. And I've actually got questions already coming in for Sam Houston. So our schedule is up, and you can check it out. Anything else am I missing, Dan?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. Excuse me. I'm going to have another cigarette.
Okay.
For Tombstone Jesus, for Dan the Man, I am Psychic Medium Angelo. Thank you, everybody. Happy wrestling, and goodbye.